Hello everyone, Amanda Williams, MD, MPH, here with you today to talk about green tea. If you are a fan of Invite Health and you utilize our formulations, you probably see a little bit of a trend, and that is that we have green tea in many different products. So we have our green tea standalone products, such as the green tea TX, we have our green tea HX, which is actually really cool because it's a blend of both green tea and black tea. But we also utilize green tea as the backbone to everything within our cosmeceutical line. So all of our skincare products, all of our hair care products, we always turn to green tea. We have our green tea fat burner formulation, and we have green tea mixed in with some of our really wonderful blended formulations as well. And the reason why is because we know all of the many different benefits that go along with green tea. Now, just as an example, we know that people have been consuming teas in general for hundreds and hundreds of years. And we have all probably heard at this point in time that there are many different medicinal benefits that go along with the consumption of tea. And certainly they have done many population-based studies where they have looked at the consumption of tea as part of the standard diet, and they look at the cardiovascular benefits for that. And we certainly know that is true, but why is that? And so one of the things that I wanted to kind of focus in on today, because regardless of how you are utilizing your green tea, and hopefully you have green tea as part of your routine in some way, shape, or form. I personally like the green tea TX. I think that's a really wonderful way to get a high punch of that EGCG, which is epigallocatechin galate. It's the very, very powerful constituent that is derived from green tea. Now, just to mention, you also find EGCG in other teas as well, so in black tea as well as in white tea. But most of the really heavy scientific research does seem to trend more towards that side of green tea. It's just more abundant and people have been studying it for much, much longer. But one thing that's really interesting is they have found through clinical research that green tea, and it's the EGCG component specifically, has this really finite ability to actually downregulate something known as HMGB1, which is high mobility group box 1. You may think to yourself, well, I have no idea what that is, nor do I care. But it's important to know this because what we know is when we have a overabundance of cytokine release, which is often precipitated through HMGB1, that this kind of floods into the cell and we get a really pronounced inflammatory process that occurs, which is not a good thing when we're thinking about chronic inflammation. So much of the research that has shown a lot of the cardioprotective benefits focuses in on that downregulation of HMGB1. So the more that EGCG from the green tea can downregulate that major inflammatory pathway, that's a really positive thing, which is why they have looked at the benefit of green tea extract even in the setting of things such as rheumatoid arthritis, which we know is autoimmune. And I think that this is a point worth noting, is that, okay, so we're targeting an inflammatory pathway, but at the same time, we're helping to support the immune system. So when we think about green tea and all of its many benefits, clearly we know it's a very powerful antioxidant. But I also like people to know just the range in which green tea has been extensively studied. I mean, I've got stacks and stacks of documents and research reports on green tea. Now, for example, a compound in green tea found to block rheumatoid arthritis, and this was through Washington State University. I mean, I just have so many studies on green tea that continuously show just how powerful and just how beneficial this can be. So when we think about the cardiovascular system in particular, and we think about vascular inflammation that can occur and damage done to the endothelial lining, the lining of the actual blood vessels, well, then it would be quite advantageous to have a very powerful antioxidant such as EGCG on board. We also recognize that green tea is very targeted towards different little foreign invaders, such as bacteria, such as viruses. which is why green tea has been studied extensively in the world of immunology and microbiology, because we recognize that not only can it downregulate these different inflammatory pathways, not just HMGB1, but clicking off of that, we also see how it targets TNF-alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha, CRP, which is C-reactive protein. You see that it targets the COX-1 and COX-2 pathways, which is your cyclooxygenase pathways. This is really kind of phenomenal. It's something from nature has all of this unique ability to really help to regulate the body's inflammatory response. And why does this matter so much? Because we know that most Americans walk around in a heightened state of inflammation. When they've looked at elevated levels of HMGB1, and you can assess these things, so this isn't just made up, when they assess high levels of HMGB1, it's directly correlated to all types of chronic disease states: diabetes, arthritis, cardiovascular disease. Just across the entire spectrum, we see that this elevation can really hinder our overall health. And if we can take something such as green tea extract, which can help to support a better inflammatory response in the system, then it certainly makes sense to do so. Now, this is the time of year where people are obviously still concerned with the pandemic, but also just normal little bugs that maybe you're picking up. So just a common cold, for example. We know that the green tea, most importantly, the EGCG component, is once again targeted towards that cellular immune response and helping to fend off oxidative stress, at the same time bolstering the immune system's ability to recognize and to go after and target those little foreign invaders. So there's so many numerous different benefits. And as I mentioned, we can also look at why we put it in our hair care, why we put it in our skincare line. Well, we know that the topical application of green tea extract, once again, heightens the skin's ability, which, think about the skin playing an incredible role in our overall health. That's our protective barrier, as well as a really integral role in terms of the immune system. So if we apply our green tea topically, we are yielding that benefit once again. Now, there's some really cool studies out there that look at how green tea actually can work in what we kind of consider like thermogenic properties or fat burning properties, which is really some fun research when I look at that. And they've targeted people who fall into the category of obesity, and then they give them green tea, and they look at the rate of lipolysis, which is the breakdown of fat cells. And it's really kind of interesting to see just the diversity of how EGCG really could potentiate so many different health benefits. And so it's from nature, and it makes sense. And we know just across the board all of the numerous benefits. But oftentimes when we think about major inflammatory conditions, arthritis being one of those, and to think, okay, so even if I just included green tea extract every day into my routine, this could actually help to offset a major aspect of inflammation that drives up a lot of that discomfort that you may experience every single day. Yes, indeed. And then when you are taking green tea and then you want to be able to assess, you can go in and you can do different blood tests such as high sensitivity C-reactive protein, and you can assess where those levels are. So I am a huge fan of green tea, and this is why we incorporate it into so many different formulations. I certainly, say if you're not taking green tea, it's something to consider putting into your routine. And there's many different ways in which you can do that. If you are not a fan of doing a tincture, we've got our green tea HX, which is, as I mentioned, that combination of not only green tea, but also having black tea, which has a really unique constituent to that, which is theaflavins. And we know that the theaflavins have been shown to be very, very beneficial when it comes to the regulation of proper cholesterol transport. So they have shown that when people take theaflavins on a regular basis, that their overall cholesterol levels seem to be very, very good. but they also recognize that it, once again, is targeting inflammation. So they've done studies where they show that that combination of the EGCG along with the theaflavins really can help to allow for healthier C-reactive protein levels, which is all very, very important. So across the board, maybe your concern is cardiovascular health, maybe your concern is immune system health, perhaps your concern is you want to shave off a few extra pounds. I always say, it doesn't hurt by just adding in these very powerful antioxidants to your routine. And if you're not exactly sure as to how much you should use, which particular product would be the best to support your overall health, that's when you want to reach out to one of our healthcare experts to give you that personalized guidance to make sure that you're taking the right product at the right time and the right amount. So I will be back with you in a few more days to talk about more wonderful formulations available at Invite Health. Thank you.